Day and good morning. Happy New Year, everybody. The Public Hearing Committee on Transportation, Tourism, Customs, Utilities, and Federal and Foreign Affairs is now called to order. The time is now 9:02 a.m. I'd like to recognize my colleague in attendance today, of course, Senators Sean Batalto, and the Vice Chair of the committee is Senator Shelley Calvo. Thank you for joining us this morning. In accordance with the 38th Guam Legislature Standing Rules, notice of this public hearing is properly issued. The first notice was issued on January 5th, 2026, and second notice was issued January 8th, 2026. A live stream of this hearing is being broadcast on the Guam Legislature's official channels, and the record of this hearing will be transcribed and made available to the public in accordance with law and rule. Before I begin, I'd like to recognize, of course, my colleagues who are, I thought I saw somebody else coming in here. Yeah, thank you again for being with us this morning. This morning, we would hear two bills, Bill 228-38 COR and Bill 234-38 COR, both authored by myself. We will hear one bill at a time, of course. For each measure, I will provide opening remarks, and then we will proceed with testimony and questions. Bill 228-38 COR. I introduced Bill 228-38 COR because I believe in Guam, and I knew long before I became the chairman of tourism that tourism has always and will be one of the pillars of our economy. And when I assumed the role as chairman, I knew that it would not thrive on brochures and slogans, but will thrive on first impressions. When people visit any place in the world, the very first thing they talk about when they go home is not the tax code, not the hotel occupancy rate. It's how the place looked and how it made them feel. They talk about the streets they drove on, the shops they walked into, and the restaurants they passed, and people they met. To make a long story short, folks, what people see when they arrive becomes what they talk about when they leave. The greatest form of advertising we could ever ask for is not something money can buy. It's truly by word of mouth. It's a visitor telling their family and friends, you have to see Guam, it's beautiful. Growing up, you wanted to invite friends over to your place, but I bet your mom will say, "Tisino kang biday mangatsung paday gumamidzu sa apat sa igima." From there, you'll speed clean through your house, and so the next time your mom will ask, she'll say yes. I think we can all learn from these at-home experiences on why this bill should move forward. Moms didn't want friends going home and telling their families that their home was neglected or uncared for. She wanted to make sure that when people came into your space, they left with good impression. Because of her, a clean home wasn't about perfection, it was about respect. It was about making sure we gave our guests something worth talking about. And for today's discussion, Guam is at home. I introduced the bill not to punish business owners, but to partner with them and to give them the tools and incentives to invest in their properties. For many businesses, beautification costs money. They simply don't have the upfront capital to do so. But if they are willing to invest in improving on how Guam looks to the world, then I want our government to stand beside them and not in their way. After discussions with the Chairman of Finance and Budget and our co-sponsor of the measure, I know that this program is fiscally responsible, it is capped, it is temporary, it is performance-based, and it ensures that improvements are maintained, not just done once and forgotten. More importantly, this bill keeps investment local, it encourages revitalization, not just in Tubuan, but across our villages, because every single village contributes to the visitor experience. This bill asks us to take responsibility for our island with the same strength we expect from our people. With that, I look forward to today's discussion and believe that we can all agree that whether it's a returning resident, a visitor, or someone just passing through, that we want Guam to be a place they remember and recommend and return. Thank you very much. I also want to welcome the speaker to be with us this morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for being with us this morning. And if we can have the folks that would testify this morning, Mr. David John, Mark Baldega, support, Carl, Okay. Just anyone that wants to testify. Some of the names I can't read. just come up front, please. Folks that are testifying, please come forward. Catherine Castro, you forward? Yes, come on forward. Oh, Vice Speaker, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Vice Speaker. I didn't see you. Senator Vince. Oh, thank you. And anybody else who wants to testify, just go ahead and come forward. Let's go ahead and start. David, we'll start with you. Go ahead and please identify yourself, and we can start.
Whoops, am I in? Morning, everybody. Thanks for taking time to hear my testimony. Bill 22838, which seeks to establish the Enhancement of Tourism Aesthetic Program. This legislation represents a critical step forward in evolving Guam's tourism product from a volume-based model to a value-based model by incentivizing the revitalization of our island's most frequently visited districts. Please note that while I'm confident that my fellow board members at ASYCUDA would share this sentiment, this is my personal letter of support, as we have not discussed this in session at our board meetings. While I strongly support the intent of this bill, we must ensure it is implemented with strict oversight. This program cannot be used to reward bad actors who have neglected their properties, but for those who have diligently maintained their buildings, I suggest opening the legislation to allow for maybe some unique local artwork that could be done on the building, something that local artists could participate in, and it could benefit things a couple different ways. Furthermore, we must require all buildings, particularly in our tourism districts, to be brought up to code. Beautification is only skin deep if the underlying infrastructure is lacking. Updated signage must be the core component of the strategy to ensure a comprehensive professional look for our capital and tourism hubs. Tourism is our homegrown economy. Unlike federal funding, over which we have little or no control, tourism is an industry which we can actively shape and manage. However, ETEP cannot be a standalone law. It must be part of a broader long-term commitment to taking tourism very seriously for our primary economic engine. To truly compete, we must find creative ways to reduce our product costs. We must evaluate landing fees, occupancy taxes, and other overhead expenses that are hindering our competitiveness. As we navigate 2026 tourism landscape, it is clear that Guam faces stiff competition from our regional neighbors. To remain competitive, we must address product fatigue. Bill 22838 provides a fiscal framework to encourage private sector stakeholders to invest in facade improvements, landscaping, lighting, and cultural art and sign that align with the premium island brand. By adding new Article 4, Chapter 58, the legislature has created a powerful economic multiplier. By direct investment, every dollar of tax incentive provided through ETAP is expected to trigger significant private capital expenditures in construction and design. Improving the aesthetics of Tumon and Tumuni districts increases the property value. A more attractive, walkable, and Instagrammable district encourages visitors to spend more time outside their hotels, increasing the capture rate for our local restaurants and retailers. In conclusion, the Enhancing Tourism Athletic Program is a strategic investment for our island's future. It empowers GIDA and GBB to facilitate growth and market of a world-class destination. Most importantly, it ensures that the benefit of the tourism revitalizations are visible to both our visitors and our local residents alike. I respectfully urge the committee to pass 228 to provide the total necessary to Guam to shine as a premier destination in the Western Pacific. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. Senator?
Sidusmasi, Mr. Chair, Hafaday Chairman Lujan and Senators Avimina Chantay Otsun Alaslatura and Guahan, Guahusi Regine Bisco Lee, I'm honored to be here with you today and to serve as the President and CEO of the Guam Visitors Bureau. We support the intent of Bill number 228-38 COR and thank Chairman Jesse Lujan and the sponsors of this measure for the opportunity to discuss solutions that will continue to make Guam the best place to live, work, and visit. We'd also like to thank this body for its continued support of the tourism industry and for the investment it has made to ensure that Guam remains a competitive destination. Guam has long been an advocate, or GVB has long been an advocate for proposals, initiatives, and programs designed to maintain the appearance and security of private properties so that they remain attractive and functional for our visitors and residents alike. Yet the time, effort, and financial investment required to maintain attractive and clean buildings remain one of the biggest challenges for our landlords and tenants in the hotel resort zone. We applaud the stiffer fines and consequences of Speaker Blas's anti-graffiti bill and see Bill 228 as an important next step in these continued efforts. Bill 228 seeks to provide critical private sector incentives that would complement the public sector work already underway by GVB, the Island-Wide Beautification Task Force, the Mayor's Council of Guam, and other government partners. Currently, GVB works tirelessly to improve the destination through daily beach cleaning, extensive landscaping, and managing the Visitor Safety Officer and Beach Safety Officer programs to ensure safe experiences for our visitors and residents. GVB continues to collaborate with our public safety partners and key government agencies to enhance Destination Guam. We believe that the whole of island approach to beautification and destination improvements not only benefits our tourists, but also fosters a sense of pride for all who call Guam home. We welcome the opportunity to remain part of the ongoing conversation regarding how we can further enhance Guam as a world-class destination. Bill 228 seeks to incentivize property owners and small to medium business operators in Guam to invest in exterior beautification, facade renovation, signage improvement, and landscaping to elevate Guam's visual appeal, stimulate bread and butter business activity, and promote a cleaner, more attractive environment. While we support the intent of Bill 228, we respectfully refer to our partners at GITA concerning the most effective mechanism to administer this policy. The qualifying certificate program administered by the Guam Economic Development Authority has successfully attracted the development of top resort and retail brands to the island over the course of several decades by offering tax rebates and abatements in exchange for launching businesses that create jobs, that replace imports, reduce prices, support local arts, and preserve Samoru culture. We thank our colleagues at GITA for their continued work to manage the QC program and look forward to their input on this measure. In sum, GVB stands in support of the intent of Bill 228-38 COR by incentivizing the private sector to take an active role in destination maintenance. We move closer to a whole of island standard of excellence that benefits every resident and visitor. While we look to GITA to refine the administrative mechanics of this program, we remain committed partners in any initiative that revitalizes our tourism corridors and fosters pride in our island's appearance. Chairman Lujan, I want to take this time to emphasize that beautification is not just the responsibility of the government or the business community. It is a shared duty for all who call Guam home. We encourage every resident to do their part in keeping Guam beautiful as a friendly reminder that a cleaner island hurts no one and helps everyone. Ultimately, we must remember that while tourism is our leading industry, Guam is first and foremost our home. Our pride in its appearance should not be reserved solely for our visitors, but should reflect the respect and love that we have for the land that we live on every single day. And Dunkalun Esidu Ismaasi Todos Hamzu for the opportunity to provide testimony on this important measure. Biba Anu Nuebu and Sidu Ismaasi.
Thank you, Senator. Mark?
Good morning, Hafaday. Mr. Chairman,
morning.
Senators,
Morning.
thank you for your time. These are not prepared remarks per se, but with 30 years of living this, I can speak from my heart a little bit. So I'm here with two hats. One is as the former chairman of GVB and the co-author of the recovery plan, and also as a private business owner. From the GVB side, the recovery plan has 4 pillars. Air service development, which is thanks to you, well underway, and we'll see progress in 2026. We're already seeing the progress. 2 new events. We have the Tuman Night Market. We just had the Dance Festival. That's well in progress. 3 is rebranding and repositioning for the new market. We're in the early stages of the research and engaging the consulting firms to help us with that. And the 4th pillar, which is really important and not much has been done with it, is destination development. And that sits with 2 pillars. One is private, one is public. On the public side, this is not the purpose of this hearing, but I would really urge all of us to look hard at accelerating a hot bond for improving the destination. We've already had conversations with the Mayor's Council members. I think it's important we all recognize this is not just about Tuman, it's about beautifying the island, improving the parks. And, I took my family around the island when they were here for the holidays. It won't take a lot to really make them sparkle and shine. Tuman does need improvement, though. Over 3 decades, it hasn't had any improvement. At a minimum, we can fix the potholes, pave the roads, and clean it up a little bit. It won't take much. Derelict buildings, you already have a bill for that, and graffiti, you have a bill coming. Minimum maintenance standards, you have a bill coming, so you're very busy and you're right on it, but we just need to accelerate and then get the hot bond in place. So that's the public side. On the private side, I'll start by reading you this excerpt from the plan. In product improvement, private sector. Investing in private sector upgrades is critical for enhancing Guam's tourism appeal and driving reinvestment. However, current financial and operational challenges, including workforce shortages, rising construction costs, typhoon-related delays from Mawar, and low arrivals make this difficult for businesses. That's an understatement. The following initiatives aim to address these challenges and improve private sector offerings. 1, financial support for upgrades, which is what we're talking about here. Provide forgivable loans or incentives for businesses to maintain and enhance their properties, possibly organized by GIDA. And David and I talked about this, 6-7 months ago. I requested or proposed a matching dollar for dollar, so 50%. This is 25%. For those who may think that this is maybe too generous, it's actually half of what we originally requested, but it's certainly meaningful. That's it for the sort of official remarks, and then let me just tell you from a business owner's standpoint, it's really hard. All right, so some large hotels here, some large groups have either off-island sources of revenue or secondary sources of revenue. For small businesses, we have a really hard time covering costs, making payroll, and making bank payments. I mean, it's half, arrivals are off by half. It's really hard. And every week I drive by the sandcastle and I look at it and I see the dome that's all really in need of paint and cleaning up and a series of other things. And I think we really have to do something about that. I think, let's do it. And then at the end of the month comes, says, I can't do it this month. That's what's going on for 3 years now, right? So just speaking personally, from a personal business owner's perspective, this really makes the difference of allowing a business owner to sort of bite the bullet and go ahead and improve their own properties, which, the government can do so much, but the private sector has to do its part. But I have to tell you, after Mawar, we had 4 years of no income during COVID, and then we just got on our feet, got slapped with Mawar. The insurance companies were really tough this time around, and we're short several $1 million short of insurance reimbursements. There's just no money to reinvest in capital improvements as much as I know it needs to be done. So just speaking from the heart and not official prepared remarks, I can tell you it's meaningful and it makes a difference, and I urge you to pass 228-38 COR. It will really help the small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bodega. Tina?
Day Chairman Lujan and members of the Committee on Transportation, Tourism, Customs, Utilities, and Federal and Foreign Affairs. My name is Tina Garcia, CEO Administrator of the Guam Economic Development Authority, and I'm here to provide this testimony in full support of Bill 228-38. GITA supports this bill's intent to support Guam's tourism industry and to enhance the quality and beauty of our island home for residents and visitors alike. But we would like to hear and request for some technical amendments. Bill 228 proposes to incentivize the improvement and beautification of commercial structures in most areas in Guam by establishing the Enhancing Tourism Aesthetic Program. This program provides eligible businesses the opportunity to avail of one or more of certain tax incentives, mainly a credit against unpledged business privilege tax owed, 100% real property tax abatement for up to 3 years on the assessed value of improvements, and or a 100% use tax exemption for items used in the improvement for various periods of time. All tax benefits are capped at 25% of the verified project cost with a $250 ceiling per applicant. Or, yeah, I'm sorry? 250,000. Overall, the goals of the bill are laudable with both its intent on improving Guam as a visitor destination and for aiming to increase the quality of life for Guam's residents. GITA would like to point out several aspects of the bill enumerated below to take into consideration as the bill moves forward. First, the bill contains aspects of both the qualifying certificate program and the various tax credit programs the Guam legislature has used over the last several decades. In general, however, QCs are approved by the governor for qualified businesses to operate over periods of up to 20 years, while tax credits are authorized for short-term immediate projects. Instead of codifying this program under the QC statute, GITA recommends that it be more prudent to codify it in 12 GCA Chapter 77, which section is entitled Special Projects and Activities of the Guam Economic Development Authority. In this way, there will be no ambiguity regarding its placement in the QC statute, which has more stringent application, underwriting, and compliance requirements. Under scope and purpose, the bill mandates GITA to assign priority consideration to projects located within designated tourism and village revitalization corridors. This will require public input and outreach to determine which areas can be qualified under this designation. It may be prudent, again, for the committee to solicit public input on the priority consideration areas as the bill moves through the legislative process. Additionally, some refinement of the specific language regarding the tax incentives, definitions, and planned execution would be ideal prior to the bill's passage are recommended. If enacted, GITA will definitely work closely with legal counsel and the partner agencies identified in the bill on these matters. Third, GITA anticipates the application process for the program, if enacted, will be similar to existing procedures for tax credit program under GITA's purview. As the program authorizes $5 million in credits per year for up to 5 years, GITA anticipates one application per fiscal year per client, with overlapping periods of compliance for 3 years, as proffered in the bill. This is a significant new administrative task for GITA. We appreciate the language in the bill that allows GITA to allocate a portion of the total value of tax incentives authorized to cover administrative, verification, and reporting expenses. We would like to work with the legislature regarding how GITA is to secure this allocation, as the bill states that this allocation cannot be charged to or deducted from an applicant's approved incentive amount. As previously stated, the goal of 228-38 is commendable, and the program can be an effective tool to be used in the government's ongoing efforts to support tourism recovery. Nevertheless, GITA would be remiss if we did not point out certain aspects of the bill that could use some adjustments to make it a program that is implementable and effective. Naturally, we stand ready to provide whatever assistance we can to the committee as the bill continues to go through the process. Thank you again for the opportunity to present testimony in support of this bill. Again, if you have any questions or need further verification, we'll be here to respond. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia, for making a markup a lot easier. Thank you very much. Ms. Castro, Catherine? Yeah. Oh, I want to welcome also Senator Barnes. Thank you for being with us this morning. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
And Vince Borja, too. Thank you, Vince.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Catherine Castro, and I'm the president of the Guam Chamber of Commerce. And I'm here to submit testimony in strong support of Bill number 228-38 COR, which establishes the Enhancing Tourism Aesthetics Program. The Chamber recognizes the importance of maintaining and improving the visual condition of Guam's commercial corridors, village centers, and public-facing businesses, understanding that these elements play a significant role in shaping visitor impressions, strengthening community pride, and supporting overall economic activity. From the Chamber's perspective, this measure fills a long-standing gap in Guam's economic development framework. While existing incentive programs have largely supported large-scale hotel and resort investments, many small and medium-sized businesses, key contributors to Guam's economy, have not had access to similar opportunities for reinvestment. These businesses often lack tools to upgrade building facades, signage, lighting, and landscaping. This bill provides a practical and targeted avenue for these enterprises to modernize storefronts and enhance curb appeal, creating benefits for both residents and visitors across Guam's villages. The Chamber also recognizes the financial reality facing many local business owners. Prolonged economic uncertainty, rising operational costs, and thin margins have made it difficult for small and medium-sized businesses to finance meaningful exterior improvements through private capital alone. As a result, necessary upgrades are often deferred, not due to a lack of commitment, but due to limited access to financing. A targeted, performance-based incentive program offers a practical mechanism to help bridge this gap, enabling businesses to reinvest in their properties in a way that benefits the broader community while maintaining fiscal safeguards. The Chamber supports the bill's disciplined and responsible structure, including an annual program cap, per applicant limitations, maintenance requirements, recapture provisions, and 5-year sunset clause. These elements strike a thoughtful balance between encouraging private sector investment and ensuring fiscal accountability. By linking incentives to verified project costs and visible public-facing improvements, the program ensures that public benefits are tangible, measurable, and widely shared. Importantly, this legislation will stimulate economic activity beyond the tourism sector. Exterior improvements will create demand for local contractors, tradespeople, designers, landscapers, and suppliers, helping investment dollars circulate within Guam's economy. Over time, these upgrades will contribute to stronger commercial districts, increased property values, and greater confidence among business owners to continue investing in their communities. In closing, the Chamber views Bill 228-38 as practical, inclusive, and fiscally responsible approach to enhancing Guam's tourism product and business environment. The Chamber respectfully urges the Guam legislature to advance this measure and thanks the sponsors and committee members for supporting a program that benefits small businesses, our villages, and long-term appeal of our island. Nat la bonita Guam, si Diyos masi.
Thank you, Ms. Castro. Mr. Calvo?
Hafaday. My name is E.J. Calvo. I'm a businessman and former chairman of the Guam Economic Development Authority. And I've worked closely with GVB in the past to enhance Guam's tourism industry. Throughout a total of 10 years, I served as a board member for GITA. I experienced firsthand how incentives and public-private partnerships could benefit our economy and our community overall. I submit this testimony in strong support of Bill 228-38, which establishes the Enhancing Tourism Aesthetic Program, a forward-thinking initiative that recognizes the direct connection between how Guam looks, how Guam is experienced, and how Guam's economy performs. Tourism is not only a marketing exercise, it is a lived experience. Every arrival, every drive along our major corridors, every walk through our villages and visitor districts shape a perception of Guam. Those perceptions directly influence length of stay, visitor spending, repeat visitation, and whether Guam is recommended to others. In a highly competitive regional market, aesthetics are not an option. They are economic infrastructure. Bill 228-38 makes a strategic investment in that infrastructure. By prioritizing the maintenance, enhancement, and visual integrity of the tourism-facing areas, this legislation strengthens Guam's brand and reinforces our position as a destination that values quality, pride of place, and cultural authenticity. These improvements translate into measurable economic returns, stronger visitor satisfaction scores, higher per-visitor spending, increased demand for local businesses, and greater resilience for our tourism workforce. The economic impact extends well beyond the visitor industry. An enhanced physical environment attracts private investment, supports property values, and creates opportunities for local contractors, landscapers, artists, and small businesses engaged in beautification, maintenance, and cultural design. Clean, safe, and visually appealing public spaces also result in long-term maintenance costs to reduce long-term maintenance costs and help prevent the cycle of deterioration that ultimately demands far greater public expense. Equally important, this program aligns tourism growth with community benefit. A more beautiful Guam is not just for the visitors. It improves daily life for residents, strengthens village pride, and reflects respect for our island's natural and cultural heritage. When residents feel proud of their surroundings, that pride becomes part of the visitor experience itself, creating a virtuous cycle of care, respect, and shared responsibility. Bill 228-38 sends a powerful message that Guam is serious about excellence, intentional about stewardship, and committed to building an economy that is both competitive and grounded in community values. It recognizes that the way we present our island to the world is inseparable from how we invest in our people and our visitable assets. For these reasons, I respectfully urge the Guam legislature to pass Bill 228-38. This measure is an investment in economic vitality, cultural dignity, and long-term sustainability, and a clear statement that Guam will recover. Si Drus Maasi for the opportunity to present this testimony in strong favor of this legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Cowell. Does anybody else want to testify? Please come forward. Anybody else? Come on up. Sure. Are we good? Okay. Before I turn over to my colleagues for questions, I got a few myself, and I'll just throw it out, whoever wants to answer, right? From your perspective, what are the most visible first impression gaps on Guam today that this program should prioritize? And how should this prioritize be fairly done so across not just Tumon, but the villages? Anybody?
I think street front in Tumon, that's where all the tourists are, right? And if you just walk around Tumon, I'm not going to throw individual businesses under the bus, but just walk down Tumon and you can see just massive disarray. Just water blasting and painting fixes a lot, and it doesn't take much, but when you don't have enough money to cover payroll, it's hard. So selfishly, I'd say, selfishly because I have a business there, but this is where the tourists are in Tumon. So certainly all the villages need to benefit, everybody needs to benefit, but if you ask for first impression is the airport, but that's a public space, but it needs some work. But the first private impression is where the people stay, which is in Tuman and all of the retail malls. I mean, I really want to throw people under the bus, but it's okay. Bottom line is there's a lot of maintenance that needs to be done, and people just can't afford to paint, clean up, and this will really help. So first impression is Tuman in my view.
Yeah, and to on what you said earlier, who should be eligible to participate? How do we ensure that small, locally owned businesses can access the program without being crowded over by, of course, larger entities with more resources? And you touched on that, Mark. But yeah,
I think one of them is the GITA's recommendation to move this from a QC to a credit. Just makes it much more streamlined. They don't have to go through all the legal hoops to get things done. Just a real quick process, and then GVB can look over, make sure that the project is, in line with what the expectations of the program are, and then GITA can help issue the credits. I think that would be a real clean slate.
Okay. One of the things, of course, if the business is willing to beautify and runs into, it should permitting be a must-have, right? The delays and rights of ways issues, drainages, sidewalks, lighting, and signage constraints. How do we coordinate across agencies so that government is not the bottleneck? Just mandate them not to, right? Not to get in the way.
I think that is one of our big problems across the board, right? I mean, the delays in trying to get investments done, some of the things I've been trying to do as far as businesses that I'm involved with over the last few years, that goes across the board. If we can, there's things that we have control over and things that we don't have control over. And the things that we don't have control over, like the yen problem, the yuan problem, these are things that we, just have to make the best of. But things like permitting and helping the businesses get through projects and not be a headwind but a tailwind. I mean, I think that should just be a non-political type of issue, and we should all be pushing for those things. And especially when it comes to tourism, federal spending is very important, and it's been a lifeline to our economy the last few years. But what's going on, the scale of it is going to run out. And secondly is local businesses do not participate at the same level on the federal spending as they do on the tourism spending. There's not as many small businesses, they're not taking out loans, that money doesn't circulate as much. I'm not making one less important, it's all part of our economy. But there's so many opportunities for individuals and small businesses to prosper and families to prosper. But when you put all these onerous regulations and make it so difficult to get anything done, it just is such a headwind to what we're trying to accomplish, everybody, right? So, I mean, anything we can be doing in that regard, and giving the tools to the agencies and putting time limits on things, right? If they can't get it done, then you move on. If it's not that important, move it on. Allowing for, we've talked about it for years, but allowing for self-certification. That does, having companies be bonded that have certain technologies and certain skill sets to actually sign off on a number of the projects for the businesses that want to move faster and have control over it. If they have bonding behind it and they fail, the project fails, the bonding gets yanked and the person's out of business. So I think it shouldn't be an issue from trying to do the right thing and put the right mechanisms in place. So I think we should all be working in that regard. Sorry, long answer.
Yeah, thank you very much. No, especially if they're an existing business. You're saying, yes, go ahead. Yes, Tina.
Thank you. GITA has long also recognized that there has been challenges with getting things permitted through for our businesses, and we've worked closely with the administration. They've also we've also put together a speedy working to improve our permitting, because we understand that if application is sitting because it's not getting regulated or approved on time, you're losing money. And there are certain moves that we are recommending to move the process along, to include things like if there's a engineer that certifies the plan, why do we need to take 3 weeks to further certify it? I mean, they have their fiduciary responsibilities, but those are things that we are hoping to improve the process, work on a speedy permitting recommendation so that things like this, as it relates to this bill, Gita will definitely call in all our partners to coordinate, especially when we're putting together the rules and regs. Make sure we cover all of their concerns so that we can, again, have something that can move in a timely manner in support of the businesses. But yes, we're definitely working to move that along.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead and start, of course, my vice chair, co-vice chair, Senator Calvo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your testimonies. To Dismasi, everyone, and half a day to the people of Guam. Thank you for your testimonies and for being here in support of this bill. I fully support this bill, of course, and I think it's high time that we recognize that this is actually a call for action to promote community pride, cleanliness, and we'll fix our environment. This signifies that we, as a community, has found a solution to simultaneously clean up our backyards. So I don't really have a lot of questions, but I'd like to start with just very few, with Gita. I know that you would promulgate rules within 120 days and coordinate MOUs with multiple agencies. Is that 120 days sufficient enough for you to jumpstart all these and do all the coordination?
Thank you for that question, Senator. Gita has done a number of tax credit programs, and so we believe we can work within that timeline, so long as we can, again, work with the committee to make the changes we have recommended in the testimony.
Thank you for your answer. Do you anticipate that there would be a need for additional staffing to process applications, or because you guys are used to processing everything, no need?
Our current staffing, we should be able to accommodate the work. I think additional time and to be careful, as well as legal assistance to make sure that we are compliant with the law, that we're able to justify the credits in line with what revenue tax requires. And then lastly, to make sure that we can comply with an audit, that these things are normally audited with. But as you're talking about a 3 to 5 year program, we just want the committee to understand that this is a continuing process going forward.
It's a temporary and continuing process.
Temporary
at the
and
same time.
continuing, yes.
Yeah, I think it's incredible, Mr. Chair, that you put a sunset in this. It actually encourages people to do it now, right? And you know, I'm just looking at geographic equity. How would GIDA ensure fair geographic distributions and prevent concentration in already well-resourced area? No offense meant, Mr. Mark.
Well, I think Mr. Baldiga was correct. You know, again, we start with the Tuman area, the first area that the tourists will see, that our visitors see. But of course, we do also want to work with the villages that are hosting their own destination areas. And so I think working with the committee to kind of fine tune and hone in on what those areas are, you know, when you talk about businesses, commercial institutions along the primary roadways, you know, we work with GVB on what are those sites that they are being commonly visited. Again, working together to kind of define that is what we would need.
Could I comment on that, Senator? Yeah, I think if you could actually make it more clear in the bill that in the first year, this is what's going to be the main focus, year 2, year 3, that might help. And Regina and I were talking a little bit also that in addition to sunsetting, I think it's important to have a clawback in there. So if the business doesn't do what they promised to do, that they then end up owing the taxes back. And by doing it as a tax as opposed to a QC, that'd be really easy. They're gonna owe the tax. You just put it back in play. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you for that input. GBB, I know that the reason why I brought up this question is because I know we also talked about efforts of including other villages in our tourism initiatives, but understanding, of course, that the concentration of our tourism is in Tumon is there. Would you like to add a little bit more to Gita?
Thank you so much, Senator. And yeah, I echo the comments from Gita. And I just also wanted to mention that, you know, we have a board meeting coming up on Thursday. We're looking forward, and we're always, we've put additional resources into additional data on what our tourists are doing while they're on island, and then additional resources in our exit surveys. So we have a lot more information, and we can make more data-based decisions based on where a majority of the time is spent while they're on island. So things like geofencing will be critical to this effort. We can give you a list of the most visited sites, and so that might be able to help us kind of take a crack at this.
That would be great. Mr. Mark?
Yeah, another idea, I think everybody's on the same path, but the private businesses are in Tumon for the most part. The private businesses around the island, of course, they want to participate maybe in year two. But if you want to put some focus on island-wide distribution, it's aside from this bill, but we talked about a hop-on. Hop-on's going to take a long time by the time you get it together and through the hearings and funded and implemented. But perhaps there's a way to have a small amount of money put for the island-wide parks, for example. So those could take immediate, and it'll have immediate effect. Maybe just a small separate amount of money. I don't think it'll be a tremendous amount of money. $1 million would really go a long way in all the parks, and that would distribute the funds around the island, not in this bill in the private sector, but at least benefiting both the villages indirectly, immediately, and also providing, you know, they need the work done to improve it. The local, if somebody gets that $1 million, perhaps it could be the local people in those communities, for example. So it's another idea. It's just a separate little fund in advance of the hot bond to just clean up the parks around the island, and then find a balance that way, for example.
Yeah, and just for your information, these are feeder bills for in anticipation of a bigger hot bond.
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mark. Another reason, of course, is because, you know, Agana. Hagåtña is our seat, our capital. So there's a lot of businesses here in the Hagåtña that will also benefit for this. So that's why I truly, truly support this bill, and I'm very thankful for our chair for coming up with this, for introducing this bill and asking me to be, asking me to be part as a co-sponsor. Anyways, that's all I have at the moment. I just want to thank everyone for your input, and I'm gonna thank the chair and give way to the other senators. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Cowell. Senator Sean.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the panel for being with us this morning. I just wanted to start, if I could, and I appreciate both, you know, David and Mark, Catherine and EJ for being with us this morning, because one of the biggest things that I think that has been overlooked for way too long when it comes to these types of programs are the small businesses of this island. They're the ones who have to drive all of the activity outside of, yes, the big businesses. Those are the ones that are stopping when a tourist comes and visits any part of our island. They're touching their businesses first. And I just wanted to say that I appreciate the idea, or I guess the input from Mark when you said it's really hard out there. Because I think that when people might look at the policies that we're setting here and might say, well, this is only going to benefit the big boys down in Tumon. That's not true. I think this is going to be far reaching than people may understand. Also, And I appreciate also when Catherine mentioned this is practical and very tactical, because I think that this 38th Guam legislature has spent a lot of time listening and trying to bring forward policies that do just that. And so again, I do appreciate that input. If I could, I just wanted to go to Tina, if I can. You mentioned that, at least on a recommendation to make a change on the special project statute. It sounds like when it was first enacted, has it ever been utilized?
This bill?
No, this special projects type of statute.
We have a number of tax credits under that section. Right now, there are 3 active tax credit bills or tax credit programs under this section.
Which ones?
We have the Guam Memorial Hospital Medical Equipment tax credit, Guam National, and the Guam National Youth Football Federation tax credit, both in BPT and excise for that organization. But yeah, there are a number of programs under here that previous tax credits exist.
All right, thank you, Tina, for that. Also, when we think of the localities that are being prioritized as a recommendation, I mean, I live in Talofofo. I drive by Jeff's Pirates Cove every day. Here's one business owner who spends a lot of time to upgrade his facilities without government intervention. And if his and others in Southern Guam are taking advantage, while I appreciate what Mark's saying is we'll focus in Tumon, but my goodness, if they have to wait a long time, like Jeff Pleadwell and others in the South, when it finally does get to them, they've kind of given up hope because they said, well, everything's in Tumon. David, I know you want to comment on that if you could, about the locales.
Just sitting here thinking about it, I don't know how important it is to create a different model based on where we're going to go geographically, because to Mark's point, the majority of the businesses are going to be in Tumon and Hagatani anyways, right? So if we just open it up to the entire island, I don't think it's going to drag away from Tumon if money went to Talofofo. But to that point, to Mark's point, is where the improvements can be down south are really more around the public spaces, right? So if you could have another build, like you said, Chairman, to move along with this, that you would have a park sponsorship credit, so that businesses, maybe put a name on the park, whatever, but they would have the ability to sponsor the park and get a 25% tax credit for that. That might beautify down south, consistent with this, but it's the public spaces, I think, down south more than the businesses. I just don't think there's enough of them that would cause it to be a problem for Tumon. I mean, it's just not going to drag that much away if you opened it up across the board.
All right, and thank you, David, for that. Mr. Chair, I want to have a couple more questions if I can. And this is, I don't know if you guys can answer this, either maybe Regine or Gita, who are on the beautification task force. And this was coming from media reports, but did any of the 29 derelict buildings in Barragata and Hagat, which should have received notices of violation from DPW as of April 2025, include active businesses? And if so, what actions have those affected business owners taken to comply with safety and health requirements? We have to go by them every day, and they do impact our tourism industry. And maybe you can help us understand what's happening on the task force?
Thank you so much, Senator. I don't have that list in front of me, but we'll definitely get more information about that and where we are on each of those buildings on the list. We also will be discussing some of this in our upcoming board meeting, and then hopefully in February have a solution for additional action.
Okay, thank you so much. Also, there was another report in May of 2025 regarding efforts to remove blighted buildings in our tourism district. What information is available summarizing the status of any ongoing work to establishing minimum maintenance standards, including but not limited to maximum grass height, maximum percentage of mold or mildew on a building before they are required to be pressure washed? Just when we think about about Tumon, can you comment on that if you can? Because we're talking about destination development, and if it looks cruddy down there, how is that helping?
Senator, we have a report that we update periodically. Our destination team does, so we can share that with you as well.
Okay, thank you so much. And I only have one more question, Mr. Chair. With the FY 2025 total of 729,000 visitors, still short of FY 2024's 752,000 figure and well below the record pre-pandemic 2019 total of 1.6 million visitors, what is the latest information regarding hotel occupancy tax collections, which as of September 2025 was $24.1 million compared to $25.9 million as of the same month in 2024? And what discussions, if any, have been put forward on the possibility of repurposing unused or underutilized hotels and tourist-centered structures for housing? It's kind of the opposite of what Mark was saying earlier. We're not trying to throw people under the bus. We're trying to get people on the bus so they can help this issue in our industry. Anybody want to crack at that?
Sorry, Senator, was that a question for me?
If anybody on this panel. If we're going short, trying to figure out how do we get help?
I understand. I actually think that this measure is an important first step, and we can continue those discussions. But I mean, unless we're going to have a roundtable on all and put all of the solutions on the table today, I mean, we're open to it, and there, again, are a number of things that we have in the pipeline, but need to have the proper process go through, and then hopefully, I'm glad to know that we have your support in advance. Though.
Oh, no, absolutely. And
I
guess where I'm getting at is just that this idea that we're here trying to find a way to for lack of a better word, is to get pumped the heart for our industry. And if we're going to be pumping money into our facilities, I mean, there's a lot more work that has to be done on the outside, but without that work, we don't put people in our hotels. We don't have people at our restaurants. We don't have people walking around down in Tumon. So that's where I was getting at. And I'm just, again, there's other ways that we could take these facilities and work them through. We have so many other issues that face our community, but I'm just trying to find a way to help.
Thank you. And I just wanted to note, we have, again, an upcoming board meeting on Thursday. We'll share additional arrivals, but I think things are looking up. We have some momentum, and thanks to the support of this body, with airline incentives and marketing dollars sent to the Guam Visitors Bureau, we have some good news to report. But again, I'll save that for my board meeting and then share it with all of you as well. Thank you.
I'm sorry, David, but
I'd be reticent to put any economic encouragement to convert hotels into housing, if that's where you're going with this. If someone wants to do it from a business model on their own, sure, I mean, that's their property, right? But I remember a couple of administrations ago where we wrote a special QC just to build more hotels, right? And then COVID hit, and now we have the currency issue that we're really facing. That's the biggest headwind. And we should be seeing some unwind in the currencies just where interest rates will be going in the States. And I think that we're going to be seeing some improvement in the currency functionality of it. And if we put the product there, sorry, my alarm's going off, then I think that there's a chance that we get back to that. I would just be reticent to put an exit strategy on hotel room numbers early, because the hope is that we get our tourism back, and building new hotels, then we'd be right back in the same thing, trying to encourage investment back into the island to build hotels. Again, if someone wants to do it on their own and it's their property, that's one thing. But encouraging it and putting economic incentives to convert, I would be reticent on that one.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yep. So first, I just want to clarify one thing. I wasn't suggesting on the distribution around the island that it be only Tumon, for example. The chairman asked where the first impression of visitors is, and that's Tumon. Of course, just everywhere. I don't think there should be a restriction. Let it be open. I was responding to a first impressions question. Secondly, if I understood your several points, one was about arrivals, one is occupancy tax, and the next was housing. As for arrivals, I'm not currently on the GVB board, so I can't speak to the tax issue. On the arrivals, though, I can tell you, because I track it very closely, it's true when you look at holistically the full fiscal year. Keep in mind the first half of the year we did nothing, right? So the airline incentives just came in recently, we're already seeing the results. So I think you'll see over the next 6 months, I feel it every day. I see it every day. November was good. December was outstanding. It's coming. So if you're looking at numbers, look at the last 90 days.
Yeah,
since we've
and Mark,
released-
I mean, the reason why I'm saying it like that is, I'm just like you and everyone in this community. We we want everything to kind of get back on track. I mean, they're put the pressures on us, on GVB.
Yeah.
They're saying, hey, what are you guys doing? And then all of a sudden we do something, and they're calling my office, they're calling my cell phone, they're blowing up everyone on this dais and down there. So my point is, it's urgency, it's a priority. That's where I was heading to this.
100% agree with you, Senator.
All right, thank you, Mark.
President Bisco Lee's doing a great job on her team. These things, we dug a really deep hole for 3 years. A really deep hole. I put it to you this way. We spent the last 12 months, actually the recovery plan was just published 11 months ago. We spent the last 11 months building a ladder to climb out of the hole, the very deep hole and we've started the climb. So actually it's the engine, it's starting to come. It's just gonna be I'm not making excuses. I don't think it's gonna suddenly be great, but we're certainly on path, on the right track, and things are going the right way. And I echo what David said about the housing thing. Nothing wrong with anybody putting some housing down, mixed use, having some residents down there, Waikiki, other places do it. But I wouldn't incent, right now we just need, to your point, we need to get the funding focused on making the destination sparkle so we can keep climbing the ladder.
Yes, thank you so much for that, and thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing me to add to the rung that is the ladder of getting us forward. Thank you again.
Thank you, Senator Sean. Also, the parks that we talked about, as we speak, we have a bill being crafted now for a PPP for parks and public spaces as well. So these are all feeder bills, again, for a bigger hot bond, should that come to fruition and all that. And as you said, there's some hoteliers as well that are already working on converting some of the hotels to temporary rooms and things of that nature. So whatever it is we can do as well to help them out, that would be, we would do that. So Vice Speaker Etta.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I don't have any questions. I just want to comment on the proposed legislation. I think this is a good step forward in seeing how we can revitalize our destination here. I think individuals that would take advantage of this program, it would be very beneficial, not just to the individual businesses, but to the island as a whole. And we just want to continue to work together and see how is it that instead of having that crab mentality of if one's succeeding, we try to pull each other down. How do we all get out of that can? And we just continue to work that way. But thank you, everyone, for being here this morning and testifying on this piece of legislation. And Mr. Chair, I look forward to working with the other initiatives that we can do to ensure that we try to bring Guam back to the pristine and destination that it once was, and perhaps even greater. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. Senator Vince Borja.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I don't necessarily, I have a couple of questions, and my only thing that I was thinking as we were listening to a lot of the testimony is, when we, and I only ask this because, GDOE, I think there was some attempt to do tax incentives to assist with some of the maintenance a while ago, but it never really came to fruition. But my question, I guess, to GVB or anybody on the panel, the tax incentive doesn't necessarily say that we have 20 businesses that are going to commit to taking advantage of this and spruce up and improve the aesthetics of Guam. But what is the plan, I guess, even if it's in small pieces in regards to improving the aesthetics while waiting for this bill to pass is my only question. So I know this is an alternative to trying to get the community to help in improving the aesthetics, but what is GVB's plan right now?
So earlier, actually last year in the spring, we had an incentive that was pushed out through the recovery committee, and we did like a water blast and paint special. And so we worked with our private sector partners to encourage businesses in the Tumon corridor to water blast. We got them discounts on paint, and a couple of businesses took advantage of those opportunities. Looking forward to doing that again in the next coming months. but I think this will definitely help to create additional incentives, because we only had a handful of folks take advantage of that. And I think what Mr. Baldigo is mentioning, it's just really tough right now for them to set aside even a couple of bucks for these efforts. And so having a public sector solution and having the legislature support and have GITA support in this way, I think will go a long way. And I'm looking forward to partnering again. We're doing some work with IBTF and the Chamber. There are a number of other initiatives that we have rolling out for the remainder of the year. But again, it's going to take a whole of island approach on this, Senator. And so I thank you for the question and hope that helps to clarify.
And then the next question, maybe Gita, you can answer this. And again, I don't just want to say that this question is not because I don't support it. My name is on the bill and I support the intent. I guess my question is, what I was thinking was, if this bill is supposed to give a tax credit to those who, help with improving, how do we, what is the plan to ensure that we're not just giving a tax incentive for people to do what they're already supposed to do, right? Like, this is supposed to, I guess, add to that. So it's not like, hey, I did this to my own building and then file for a tax incentive. How do we, I guess, ensure that we don't have the bad apples who we're really just giving them a tax incentive to do what they probably should already be doing?
So again, listening to today's testimony, a lot of the businesses are wanting to make the improvements, but are a bit short of cash. So providing this 25% incentive of the cost will help them improve. And the bill itself, I mean, kudos to the author of the bill. It has a lot of tools to manage the program, to include 50% credit upon completion, the remaining 50 1 year after, and then they have 3 years to maintain that, at least 3 years. And then having the recapture, should there be any violation, is also, a new tool that, is a tool that we can definitely use to help promote and enforce the program. And so we like the way this is written. Again, it's encouraging businesses to spend money, put money into the economy through the various contractors that they will be using. So I think it will be a good return for the dollar invested.
Thank you. I have no further questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator, if I may, I'd just like to add to President Biscoli's, what is the private sector, or what is GVB doing right now? And actually, we have a partnership, as she mentioned, with the Chamber and GVB. And there have been an asset census identifying various public spaces, private spaces, along 5 corridors, right? So Marine Drive, San Vitores, Children's San Antonio, Camp Watkins Road, Fahrenhold Avenue, right? And so there was a lot of work to identify public spaces, retaining walls, fences that are torn down, sidewalks, everything, right? And we did have a meeting. We brought a lot of stakeholders together, and a lot of them have actually started doing work. For example, GPA, their power poles have graffiti on them. They went and took the beautifulest, brightest yellow you could imagine. We were kind of worried, like, oh, yellow, but they were saying it's safety, Catherine, it's safety. I said, okay, but they painted, and so if you drive along the corridor, you see this bright yellow on Marine Corps Drive, right? So that's one. GTA has, been a huge, great partner with GVB in the murals and things like that around the island. And they have also identified various, their pedestals, and they have really done a lot of work to fix those, right? So there are things that are already ongoing, and we're not finished yet. But this bill certainly helps the cause. So thank you.
Thank you for that. I think really where I was going is, was the government, like DPR, DPW, is there any commitment from them? Like that was really my question was, yes, the businesses, and we want to try, we want to continue to work with them, and we appreciate the work that the chamber does, and a lot of the businesses that are saying like, hey, we want to help, but we need help too. But I guess my question around that was, what was, the administration, the executive branch, DPW, DPR, what kind of commitment do they have in regards to, because this is not a new topic, with all the different issues across the island, from junk cars to graffiti to broken down buildings or abandoned buildings. That was really what I was asking. I mean, we see the work that you guys are doing all the time with the chamber and the community, but that was really my question, and is what is the DPW, DPR, was there anything that, is there meetings that you guys have with GVB in regards to what they're going to do to help?
I can speak to a couple of things real briefly. First, to your question about the businesses, are we just paying them to do what they should do anyway? I guess in one way, the answer is yes, we're paying them to do what they should do anyway. But on the other hand, I think every business owner I speak to down there is on the edge of collapse. I mean, I know one restaurant owner with multiple restaurants who's really contemplating closing all of them. It's not a question of desire, it's a question of ability, that's all. So are we paying or providing incentives for people to do improvements they should do? Yes. Can they do it without this? No. I think that's the reality of what it is. And then with regard to what else is GVB doing, again, I'm not really active in GVB anymore other than the authorship of that document, but they are making a lot of movement. So with limited resources, they painted all the medians, painted all the fire hydrants, working with the telcos to identify removal and painting of those. We surveyed with the Mayor's Council every park, took pictures and made the lists of all the bathrooms, all what needs to be done. So we've done everything we can. Standardize color palettes. I went down to Sherwin-Williams like 6 times myself. I hired an interior designer out of my own pocket to help me, a European guy, sort of come up with a standardized color palette. So we always use Sherwin-Williams forest green for all the dark green utility boxes and so forth. So there's been a lot of prep work done. We need funding. And so in the absence of the hot bond, I don't mean to keep just asking, but if we're talking about maybe we should take sort of the high priority, low cost things and put them in a separate bill and at least start attacking them, because the only thing that's holding us back now is really the funding to do this in little bits and pieces for whatever that's worth.
Thank you. No further questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Can I add, Speaker? Can I add something?
Sure.
And I haven't been, again, I'm not speaking on behalf of Gita. I haven't been chairman since Mark was chair at GVB as well. But I think the success of this initiative is going to be largely predicated on Gita's execution and the ability to really have attention to detail, the ability to execute at a high level. And I'm not sure if, I don't want to conflict what they're reporting, but I've always felt that they need more resources and funding, as many of our agencies do. I saw a 2% administrative fee being retained with Gita. I think that could be higher to a couple points. And that would allow Gita, of course, to present a plan that's sufficient to execute this at a high level. I think there needs to be a standard set for these improvements, not just do whatever you want to do, paint whatever you want to paint, but also that level of attention is going to require resources. So I think that's one thing that can be looked at. And I do think that standard needs to be set across the government of Guam. To Senator Borja's point, there needs to be a mindset shift where we're giving tax incentives to private businesses to improve their curb appeal. Our agencies need to step up, DPW and DPR. I think you're asking the question because you see what we all see, and the grass isn't cut and the sidewalks are mold infested. We need to step up across the board, both public and private sectors. So I just wanted to add those 2 points.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Borja. And that's the premise, of course, of the 2026 budget would be a performance-based. And so that's, we're starting with oversights and, the performance-based budgeting will hopefully address, again, the performing agencies versus the non-performing agencies to that. Thank you very much. Senator Muñoz-Barnes.
Situus Masi, Mr. Chair, Manana Situus, to everyone here, to the panel members. I could say that looking at this legislation and being a part of the sponsorship and thanking the good author of this legislation, that we're going to revisit this again. And it's not like we haven't had this before. You talked about your wearing another hat back then, you with Gita, you with GBB, and everybody on this same table that has been in this arena for more than 2 decades. My question this morning was going to be something like, years ago, improvement districts were discussed, especially in the Tumon area, and is this still a good route for Tumon landlords to take, or is the tax credit more useful for just Tumon itself? And then I look at the legislation, and I look at the scope and purpose, which is the program shall apply island-wide to qualified commercial structures that are visible in public and contribute to Guam's tourism image and community environment. GITA shall assign that priority considerations to projects located within designated tourism village revitalization corridors, including but not limited. And then it says Tumon, Hagatnya along Guam Highway 1, Marine Corps Drive, and other high visibility commercial areas. And as I think that that's a great idea, I wanted to see how much more we can extend that. And I'm hearing a lot of the comments and the inquiries earlier, and all of us are all literally basically on the same page. But I want to bring something up that was brought to my attention just the other day, when they said the professional major league players and Korean teams are now going to other places like the Northern Marianas and even to Palau and Taiwan to train instead of coming here, especially in this time between the October to March season, where everything was coming to Guam first as it relates to the professional baseball players and the teams that, we had the Yumori Giants, we had all the Korean teams, I think 4 or 5 different professional teams. And where are we at that? I know that when the good senator from Talafofo was asking about the updates, and both GVB and Gita saying we'll have that list, is how can we revisit legislation that already exists today and just hype on to that? And then the chair talks about feeder bills, especially as it relates to structures. And I'm talking about Paseo Stadium itself. This has been brought up time and time again. I know I'd be called out on this to say that I didn't have a biased take on this. So yeah, my sons and my children are baseball players, and in the last decade, or almost a decade, they haven't been able to play because these fields were not upgraded to the standards where even the public-private partnerships with the off-island contracts, like the teams that come out here that help, that we as an island weren't sufficing in that. And maybe I just wanted to ask, have we gotten those updates to date? And GVB, Gita, at least help us out here, because great that we're doing these feeder bills and working on this legislation, and I support it 100%, but what can we do today that is existing in legislation? And maybe Senator Lee, you can add right now?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Ranking Member. I know that we are preparing, if I'm not sure if they're already here, but I know that we did get a message that the Samsung Lions from Korea are returning to Guam for training again this year. Looking forward to welcoming them back. However, they will be doing majority of their training in a private facility because public facilities are not at the level that they need it to be. And I know that the spring training destination really reflects Guam's potential to host these teams, and barring facilities, and again, I can't speak for the Department of Parks and Rec, they're not here today, but I know that this has been an issue and it's an ongoing one. So I'm glad to hear that we have the support of this body, and hopefully, we can try to get them to move that forward, because it is a missed opportunity for not just baseball, but other sports and facilities are a perennial problem for us.
Especially as it relates to sports tourism and how those kind of attractions can bring in thousands and thousands of tourists to come, because there's a big fan, and I know, Mark, you're shaking your head, yes,
Absolutely.
because this is really happening. And I'm not here to bang on anybody. I'm literally here to saying, because we're at it again today and seeing the realization when I was the oversight chair of tourism, is how do we circle back and bring everything up to the forefront? And if I need, because I want to make sure that if we're going to make any amendments on this floor, and I'm hoping this bill will come out for this next session a month, that if I need to add an amendment to that to include, right, but not limit to, we have Tumon, Hagåtña, and Guam highways on Route 1, Marine Corps Drive, and other high visibility commercial areas. Is there anything else that we should add in as far as adding, maybe not even needing that feeder bill, but adding the amendment to this on the facilities? And what can we give, maybe this term, we've been really good with markup hearings, is how can we make that inclusive of bringing even the buildings and facilities to play? I know that we've been working, and again, we talk about the tourist industry, but what about the other villages? We have Southern High that's looking at being renovated. We have Talafofo. We have, they brought up Jeff's earlier, right? But we have other places down in the south that could bring that attraction to them. And I'm hoping that GITA and GVB and Parks and Recs and DPW continue to get that started, because there is, in the government's perspective, a shortage, and that's why we're getting creative to do this. So I want to make sure that as we see the experts on this table and looking from the policy on the side, what more can we add? So maybe even that those updated lists that can come up, because I'm just trying to take away on action items that can come our way. So maybe looking at even the PPP that we have with the Baseball Federation and all that, and taking what we have in the existing law today and making sure that if they're not doing their job, then this is the vehicle that's going to drive it to make the updated necessary changes. And Mr. Chair, as I compliment you on working and including us, because we have the votes to get this on session floors, making sure that when we get that information that our colleagues are asking for, what more can we add from the panel perspective? Yes, Dave.
I think in this one, I'm behind you, everything you talked about. I'll circle back in a second on that. I think we should just stay laser focused on this one and not get these other things involved in this particular bill, and get this one off the table and get this moving and get the private sector to step up and do their thing. Well, I also think what you're talking about is important. I won't go too far into it. I have a son in Major League Baseball myself, and I could say I think we're missing the boat on that one completely. If we're going to go down that road, I think we should go more into it. If you could think about the spring leagues down in Arizona and Florida for Major League Baseball in the States, it's a huge economic driver. But right now, we just independently let them come down here and use the facilities. There's no games going on. There's no structure. If we really wanted to get involved with that one, I think that there's actually an opportunity to drive some really cool tourism. But I think it needs to be done in a holistic way, and you need to improve the facilities to start with, and then you need to recruit, bring them down, and actually focus on making some sort of an actual league down here, not just individuals coming down to train. But I think if we could just stay focused on this one and not get those things into this one and circle back on those other things, I think they're very important also. Sorry.
I was just hoping, Dave, that we didn't have to reinvent the wheel and just work it, but giving that logic and that justification, the standalone to that, and making sure that it gets its 100% credit where credit is due. And we've seen the successes of that. And
If-
Titina?
Hi, good morning,
good morning.
Senator. And I just want to add, and again, not to divert from this bill, but the legislature in 2022 did expand our special hotel QC program to include renovation and expansion. And for certain, as a percentage of whatever they put in, that hotel puts in their improvement, they can get certain tax benefits to include 50% of unpledged business privilege tax, income tax rebates, and real property tax rebates. So again, I think GITA's role this year is to really push out our programs, get them to know what's available. Even for our small businesses, we have a loan recovery program where they get up to 2 points above Treasury with the bank denial, or even a loan guarantee. So again, GITA will work harder at pushing our programs out to all our businesses, both small and in the hotel industry.
I appreciate that, and like I said, I do understand that the reason why I wanted, I was hoping that we can be inclusive and all that, and I know there's been a drive, like I said earlier, with the feeder bills and being a co-sponsor of that and just revisiting it, but this is the opportunity for us to fix it and make it right today. Again, and it's not like we haven't done it in the past.
I'm sorry, Senator, can I add to that?
Yes.
Because, and I agree with David, I think we should focus on the intent of this bill, but I think it's important, and obviously, I start hearing sports tourism and sports, and I perk up, and I want to say something here. You know very well, I led the rehabilitation of a government sports facility up in Tijan that has created benefit for our community and our national basketball program.
Yep.
And although it's not, the purpose of that facility wasn't to host international arrivals, it's helped to propel that program to now host major international sporting events. But thankfully we have the University of Guam Cabo Fieldhouse available to host those basketball events. At the end of the day, facilities are going to dictate all the activities. It's going to dictate sports tourism's ability to prosper here. And I was very saddened to hear that the Paseo baseball stadium is actually condemned at this time. I'm not sure, I heard from employees of DPR, so, but I didn't read much about that in the news. If that's the case, I'm not sure if band-aiding the Paseo Stadium is the answer, and that's to David's point that perhaps this is a different topic and a different bill altogether. I think the tax incentive or the tax credit pathway could be the right one, as seen with other projects, but definitely I think we should revisit, because I have a mixed feeling about the Lions coming to Guam recently. Was it the Samsung Lions? Or, I mean, it's great that they're here, but I'm almost concerned that their experience is going to create a negative reputation of Guam if they're not involved in the right activities and if the facilities aren't up to par. So I think we need to really take a step back and look at what kind of public facilities, not only for our local sports community, but for the potential for huge sports tourism opportunities, like what was mentioned in the past, like what you were talking about, that could come back in a bigger way than ever before if we do this right. And I'm not sure if mandating Paseo with a small budget is going to get it done. I think we really need to revisit that separately. But I'm excited to hear, obviously, as you are, ideas for public facilities for so many reasons to give the community these sports facilities and then use them as sports tourism attractions. Thank you.
Well, duly noted on that comment, but I also want to say, as the administration has been working to try and get that above, I think the bigger picture is how can we make the public-private partnerships more inclusive and collaborative, working together with the community, with the private sector, and with the government. And Senator Lee knows this all too well, that when we get that positive collaboration with all the stakeholders, then it's a win-win for everything. So I know I know sometimes, people get really upset, and it's not like we haven't gone through some disasters within natural catastrophes within the last decade, because we have. We had the pandemic, we had the malware, and we had this Asian crisis, and we're just trying to bounce back. And that's why this August body, this 38th Guam legislature, has really been able to at least step up to the plate, and I'm willing to put my name on it because at least it's revisiting this cycle and seeing what has been successful in the past come back to play. So that was my take on that. And sometimes you need that vehicle because it gets stuck when it's a standalone bill. So I was just saying that if it's possible, we're going to do it. If not, and we can think something greater to include as what was noted today, understood. So that's why this process is really important. But Mr. Chair, I didn't mean to take up this much time. I just wanted to know that this is a good bill, and if we can see the collaboration coming together, I think this bill should be facilitated and see what much more we can do for the other facilities that we need to help, and we need the private sector support into making these successes and win-wins for our community. So, Sana Masi.
Thank you, Senator Muñoz Barnes, and that's exactly what the Parks and Public Spaces Bill is been looked at this point, and again, to address that particular situation for this bill, I don't want to dilute the caps that this bill has put in this measure. So that would be addressed in another bill that's being crafted at this point. Speaker Blas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and to the panel, thank you very much for your participation as well as your contribution to the discussion. And to the point that Mr. Cowell had stated, the aesthetics, it goes far beyond the commercial areas. Mark, also to your point, Tumon is the first place that people go to. But Route 10A is the first thing that people see, okay? And, along those lines, there are some, I guess, qualified commercial structures that you can say, but then there's also some areas that are badly in need of improvement before we can see the beauty that may exist in other areas. But it goes to the line of I guess, Ms. Garcia, you brought the recommendation or the suggestion to move from the qualifying certificate to the tax credit. If we were to do that, and if we do that, and I agree with you that that's probably the best way to go, because then it puts it under our special projects as well, designation, less onus. Will this open and expand the opportunity for other businesses or organizations to be involved in this program? That if this program were to be amended and expanded in that way?
Certainly, we would welcome that input from the other organizations, whether it be in the tourism industry or others, but we do have the models that can help. And again, what we like about this tax credit is that for every dollar that's spent from the government, $3 are being put in from into the economy. So that's why we support this program.
Okay, and the reason why I say this is because while the program as written right now applies to qualified commercial structures, many of these structures house small businesses who are not necessarily the owners of the structure but are tenants to it. And if we can, I want to make sure that we would find a way that if the owner or the business that is in this commercial structure sees the value in wanting to be able to make the improvements themselves, but there's not, we don't have that block, if you will, or that red tape that says, oh, you don't own the building, so therefore it can't, you're not qualified. I want to see how we can be able to, so that it can be all inclusive.
Yes.
Not just, again, not just the commercial, the owner of that commercial property, but the tenant of that commercial property and the surrounding area of that commercial property.
Right, we definitely would require the input of the owner of the building to recognize that this is being applied for, so that maybe they would want to expand it to the other areas within his area, within the building.
Yeah, and recognizing that, again, as the chairman had stated, this is one of many bills, other bills that will help to address, so that we really don't necessarily need to wait for the hot bond. Everything is addressed in a lot of these areas, or then gives us more clarity as to how a hot bond, if necessary, will be utilized. But I just want to make sure that, you know, in the language, that based on your suggestion, your recommendation, to be able to move it that way, so that we can get more inclusive on who can participate, give the opportunities not just to the owner of the facility, of the property, but tenants as well. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does anybody else want to testify? Charlie, are you testifying here? No? Okay, thank you. Just one last question, actually, tourism related as well, and ask Senator Lee, President Lee, with this. My understanding is that, well, the word out in the street here is that United will be terminating their Taiwan flight here real soon. Is that the word?
No, not at all, Senator.
Okay.
We're hearing actually the opposite, and we'll be able to give a little bit more information at our upcoming board meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, that's great, because I know China Airlines too. They're in the process of looking to fly out to Guam as well. So they're in the process of getting all their permitting and things of that nature. So yeah. So I just want to put a stop to that information that's going out there, that they're going to put a kibosh on the Taiwan flight. But with that being said, if nobody else, thank you all again for testifying on Bill 228-38 CRR. Your input is important, and it will strengthen, of course, the measure moving forward. And thank you, Ms. Garcia. Of course, you're making our markup a lot easier to get done. For anyone who wishes to submit testimony for the record, you may submit them within 10 business days. Testimony may be submitted electronically via email to senator.lujan@guamlegislature.gov. A written testimony may also be submitted by dropping it off at my office located at 259 Martyr Drive, Hagatnya, Guam 96910. This concludes testimony on Bill 228, and we'll now proceed on the next item on today's agenda, and we maybe take a 2-minute recess to, again, get the folks ready for 234-38. Thank you very much. We stand in recess. Good morning again. We're back from recess. We'll be hearing now Bill number 234-38, CRR. Alpha Day, again to the listening audience. For those here for this bill, I'm here to hear today's discussion. So I take this responsibility as the chairman seriously, and I believe this bill is the result of ongoing oversight and direct work with the agencies that we're responsible for. My staff and I are in regular contact with and understand what is working and what is not, and what tools they need to do their jobs. This legislation comes directly from that process. CQA told us that their current systems are outdated and no longer meet today's needs. They ask for a modern and internationally recognized custom systems that would replace paper-based processes, strengthen border security, and support legitimate trade. This bill delivers that solution. Before this bill was introduced, 10 of 15 members chose to co-sponsor it. That early support shows both the urgency of the problem and the confidence in the path forward. The bill designates ASYCUDA as the official customs management system for Guam Customs and Quarantine. ASYCUDA is used by customs agencies around the world to process cargo electronically, assess duties and taxes, manage risk, and enforce the law. It moves Guam into a modern and integrated system. It allows cargo information to be reviewed before arrival mandates, assessments, improves revenue tracking, and provides reliable information for oversight and enforcement. These are basic functions that protect our borders and our public funds. It will also authorize Guam to work directly with the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, the sole provider of ASYCUDA, while keeping legislation oversight in place. Most importantly, this bill protects taxpayer dollars. Audits have shown that outdated systems increase the risk of revenue loss and weak controls. This will address those issues while ensuring we keep ownership of our data and maintain our security safeguards. With that, I look forward to today's discussions, and we have the folks that are here to testify. And before we start, of course, Speaker B.J. Cruz, Public Auditor, we referenced actually your audit and your findings in the bill. And so we'll go ahead and start and begin with your testimony. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I apologize I did not come this morning with a written testimony. When I was notified Friday afternoon, I said I would come, and you reminded me at the gym yesterday. So yes, my interest in use tax has almost become an obsession. I'm sorry to say that publicly. But for over 15 years, when I was chairman of tourism, it was because we were talking about bed and breakfast, and we wanted to be able to collect the taxes on bed and breakfast. Then when Speaker Ben invited me onto the Appropriations Committee, I started to look at the CRERs. And you look at the collections and you see how much is collected in gross receipts tax and how much is collected in use tax. Even 15 years ago, we were calculating gross receipts tax at anywhere between $50 and $60 million a year per percent of the percentage. And 15 years ago, we were asking about the possibility of taxing Amazon for all that it was bringing in, and any of the other people that were mailing in stuff. Unfortunately, they were claiming they couldn't apply the tax for us because they had no authority, and besides that, they had too much problem handling the exemptions. So when I became chairman of Appropriations, I asked the Office of Public Accountability to please look into this issue of use tax. And as a result, you have OPA 1501, which is about the use tax. 15 years ago, when the auditors went out to look at the operations at Customs and Quarantine, they were finding they had no scanning ability, they had no electronic mean of retaining things. They were collecting boxes of invoices and bills of lading at the rate of 28 to 30 boxes a month. We looked at 2 days of collections at that time, October 12th and I think December 12th, and found that for each of those, for those combined days, the amount of bill of ladings came up to almost $21 million. That's like $10 million a day. That was over 10 years ago. During the COVID era, we did the audit on, I think we made another one. It was audit number, OPA audit 20-01, where I was wondering how much was coming in on that 747 that was landing. And I think I got from the airport some number, I can't remember what it was. But we were estimating we were losing millions and millions and millions of dollars. I mean, when you look at it, the gross receipts tax was almost $300,000 a year at the 4% and the 5%. But the use tax, ever since I was chairman of appropriations 16 years ago, I mean, on the committee, has never gone above $700,000. They're supposed to be collecting percentage per percentage. I mean, maybe it would make $50 or $60 million a year because it's not as much as what's being collected here on Guam. But there was a period where, and I think now, most of the stuff is coming in. One of my friends actually even has Amazon deliver his paper towels. People are living off just Amazon Prime. I mean, it's gone crazy. The brick and mortar stores are closing. But Customs and Quarantine, at least in the last audit that we did, are still collecting it in boxes. Probably more than 30 boxes a month now. Certainly more than $10 million a day, but we don't know. I was also interested in this because of the tobacco tax and the alcohol tax, but that aside. So I was really, really elated last two legislatures ago, or when Senator Munoz Barnes got the initial authorization to allow for this system to be procured. I have been dogged in following it up with the administration to the point of where they see me and they say, we tried. I know all their customs people have said, all the directors have said, they've tried, but they couldn't get it through because some question about the authority to accept money from the United Nations and our political status. And, or the procurement problem didn't go through, it wasn't moving fast enough, and it fell through. We've got to do something, either move through with this and go through with a system or invest in it ourselves. The amount of money that we've lost since this issue first came up 10 years ago could have paid for this system 10 times over. This wait, and not do anything has to stop, sir. And I support the intent of one, getting a system in something that's in the 21st century. I may not be able to turn it on. I may not be able to know how to go into it. But I'm sure they can get OTAC and some other technical people, get an 8-year-old to come in and show them how to handle it. But, you know, the kids are very savvy on this. We need to do this. We've lost too much money over the last several decades. This use tax has been in effect for almost 40 years. The amount of money that we've lost, I mean, is unconscionable. And the damage that it's doing to brick and mortar businesses on island, because everybody's using Amazon and Walgreens and Etsy and whatever, and we can't collect the taxes when they send it in, could fund quite a bit of operations. So I asked the legislature to as expeditiously pass this bill, and if this doesn't work, then invest. Just say, bite the bullet, and we're going to say we're going to pay for a system, we'll pay for it, we'll invest for it out of the general fund, you know, take it as a loan from the rainy day fund or something, but do something, because we cannot continue to bleed this much money every year. I mean, it could be as much as $150,000 a year. I mean, $150 million a year. Even if we don't collect the 50 or 60 that gross receipts is collecting now, it's probably, it could have collected 40 or 30 million, but whatever that amount is, it's 6 figures in any way you cut it. Please make the investment and make it as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Public Auditor. I appreciate that. And, you know, again, the audits make it seem that CQA is not doing its job. That's with the audit. But as the Oversight Chair, having worked closely with, of course, Chief John Rick Mendiola and, of course, Colonel Frankie Gutierrez, and all these amazing, of course, men and women that watch our borders, they're not doing their job. It's giving them the right tools to be able to do their jobs.
Please don't interpret that as us saying they're not doing it. We went up and saw them.
Sure.
When we were doing another audit and we wanted some documents, they went through 400 boxes. Mm-hmm. They had 16 officers pulled off the line to come and pull stuff out of boxes so we could try to show how much was being collected in I think it was alcohol tax or something. Mm-hmm. They shouldn't have to do that.
Sure.
It should be just something, enter.
Yeah, you know, just actually just a couple months ago, I wasn't able to attend, but I had Senator Borja attend for me down in Palau alongside Customs and Quarantine, and I think also BSP. I think you guys were there as as well. Yeah. And I think in their first quarter in Palau, and look at the implementation, in the first quarter of Palau's implementation, I think their collections went up, 21%, right? Is that something like that, right? Senator Borja? Yeah. And that was just a rough number at the time. It wasn't an audited number, but roughly, their collections went up 21%. So you can imagine, you said, you know, previous boxes, 30 boxes, maybe even more boxes nowadays. But with that, again, that's why we're giving the men and women the tools to be able to do their jobs. But we'll just go ahead down the line here. Mr. John Rick?
Senator,
Yeah,
I'll yield
we
to
defer to the director. Okay.
the director and the chief first for their
No
testimony.
problem. No problem. We just go ahead, Mr. Director. Go ahead.
Happening. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of this committee, Senator Ada, Senator Borja, Senator Gamotalto, Senator Barnes, and Senator Calvo. I am IQ Pareto, Director of the Customs and Quarantine Agency, and I am pleased to provide testimony in support of Bill 234-38, a measure introduced by Chairperson Lujan and co-sponsored by Senators Muña, Borja, Duenas, Parkinson, San Agustin, Gumatauta, Calvo, Salas Matanali, and Speaker Blas. The bill's intent is to address the imperative need to reform, modernize, and automate the current antiquated customs operations, practices, and procedures on Guam. Bill 234-38 grants Customs and Quarantine Agency clear legal authority to adopt the automated system for customs data globally, recognizing ASYCUDA as Guam's official customs management system. Furthermore, it authorizes the agency to enter into intergovernmental agreements, memoranda, and other requisite legal instruments with United Nations Conference on Trade Development, known as UNCTAD, the proprietary owners of this management system. If enacted into law, this bill will significantly complement existing customs reform legislations, specifically Public Laws 35-105 and Public Law 3782, which initiated the modernization of customs processes for preparation into the digital age. The use of ASYCUDA will, in turn, enhance CQA's efficiency and effectiveness in identifying fraud, illegal smuggling, strengthening risk and trade assessment, providing real-time accountability of goods for customs entry, improving customs inspection fee collections, and optimizing resource management. For the government of Guam, ASYCUDA will be capable of gathering and compiling real-time statistical trade information that can inform policy decisions and improve the identification and collection of revenue on existing taxes. For our stakeholders and the public, the system will foster transparency, predictability, simplification of clearance and process, digital access to clearance of goods, and an overall improvement of customs clearance processes compared to our current manual operation. The fundamental question before us concerns the real rationale of ASYCUDA. To understand or support for this system, we must explain the origin of this system used by over 100 countries around the world. First developed in 1981, the UNCTAD ASYCUDA was initially established to compile trade statistics. In its inception, it was soon recognized that the most appropriate and well-positioned governmental organization or entity to capture, collect, and manage this task comprised customs officials, given their inherent duties to regulate cross-border activities. Since its initial iteration, ASYCUDA has evolved to encompass other facets and capabilities of cross-border trade facilitation. Based on the specific needs of customs administrations, we added the growth of abilities of the system. Among other elements that has contributed to the expansion of the system includes electronic data interchange, innovation of logistics, public needs, incorporation of globally accepted instruments developed by the World Customs Organization, such as SAFE, which is Standard, Secure, and Facilitate Global Trade Framework, and the Harmonized Commodity Description and Coding System, as well as the codes and standards developed by international organization or standardization, has led to the current system